Welcome to a bonus episode of What's Next ATL, powered by the Atlanta Regional Commission. Hey, let's get the music rolling. I'm Kate Sweeney. All season long, we've been unpacking the big challenges facing us in Metro Atlanta. There's housing affordability, which is complicated by the region's transportation landscape, which itself is facing major changes in the years to come. But we also learned that for each of these challenges, there are people, organizations, and local governments taking them on. And hey, I'm not going to get into all of those now. You'll have to listen to the stories in the first 5 episodes. In this bonus episode, we're looking ahead to 2019 and some of the region's biggest priorities for the year to come. Recently, the Atlanta Regional Commission hosted its annual State of the Region breakfast, which convenes leaders from around Metro Atlanta and asks them to think about those priorities. We decided to grab a few folks as they walked through the door before the breakfast, a couple before they even got their coffee, to ask them what issues they see as the most critical in the year to come. Stay tuned. We thought we'd start with one of the biggest issues facing our region. Chances are you're listening to this while driving, or maybe while riding public transportation. Most respondents to this year's Metro Atlanta Speaks survey, that's the quality of life survey ARC puts out each year, most respondents named transportation as our greatest challenge. And 2019 promises to be a huge year for it. For one thing, last year, elected officials signed legislation creating a regional transit authority to serve 13 counties in the region. It's called the Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority, or as most of us have heard it called, the ATL. And it was the ATL that was foremost in the mind of our first guest as he looks ahead to 2019.
My name's Christopher Tomlinson. I'm the Executive Director for the State Road and Tollway Authority, the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, and Interim Executive Director of the newly formed ATL, or Atlanta Region Transit Link Authority.
Now, the ATL is a brand new state agency, admittedly one with many syllables. Formed in 2018, up and running in 2019, Tomlinson says the very first thing we can expect to see from it is new branding. To make it clear it's an ATL bus or train we're boarding, wherever we are in the region. Sounds simple, right? Well, not exactly.
How do we incorporate that into all the various transit that we have in place? If you talk to Senator Brandon Beach, one of the authors, his vision is you can fly into the ATL, the airport. You can take an ATL train to an ATL Express, and maybe even to an ATL local bus. So do we look at applying this branding as a cohesive system? Or is it just a connected network? And if you see this ATL badge on a MARTA train or an express bus, you know that hopefully maybe they all use the same fare payment systems. You can go one place and find it all on one map.
How the branding looks is just one decision at the start of an agency that's bringing together counties that have done transit more or less on their own for a long time. And Tomlinson says bringing them together means a whole new level of cooperation.
Fulton County's done a transit study. Gwinnett, Aerotropolis, the businesses around the airport are doing them. How do we mesh that all together as a region? There's a lot of reasons why you see it on a county-by-county basis, because so much of the funding is there. We have a lot of good projects. A lot of them are going to be competing for the same federal dollars. As a region, we need to at least put together a plan to move forward.
A lot there on the plate of the ATL, which has the potential to improve the region's economic competitiveness while making it easier for people to get around all over Metro Atlanta. Places like Gwinnett County in the northeast part of the region, where Anthony Rodriguez is the co-founder and producing artistic director of the Aurora Theatre. He says that people are often surprised to hear that transportation issues impact his business.
But they really do, because if I can't get those patrons, 40% of our patron base comes from outside of Gwinnett County. If I can't get them to the theater, get them to restaurants, to do things in a timely fashion, then they're not going to want that experience again.
Rodriguez also formerly chaired the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, and he's run his theater in downtown Lawrenceville for nearly 2 decades. From his vantage point, the region's transportation has started to improve in recent years. And he chalks this up largely to recent changes at MARTA.
I've been incredibly proud of the work that MARTA has done in the last 10 years to sort of reorganize and the relationships they've built up in other counties. That Gwinnett is even on the brink of allowing MARTA expansion is huge for us.
What he's referring to is a referendum that's coming up in March for voters in Gwinnett County to decide whether or not to increase their sales tax by 1% to join MARTA. That could mean expanded heavy rail, perhaps from the Doraville MARTA station into Norcross, and expanded local bus service for the state's second most populous county. Moving now from how we get from point A to point B to perhaps what we do once we get there. Further south in the region, in Henry County, it's jobs that are on the mind of the chair of the Henry County Commission, June Wood.
Aren't there 2 barbecue sauce companies in Henry County?
Oh, yeah, Shang's, of course. Then, of course, we got Ken's Foods. We've got Luxottica for, the glasses. I mean, there are so many wonderful industries that we have that we're very proud of.
Luxottica, by the way, makes eyeglasses, not water glasses. And Chair Wood is glad about all these businesses. Henry is among the fastest growing counties in metro Atlanta, experiencing a nearly 79% increase in residents between 2000 and 2015, and a boom of 1,800 new jobs in 2017 alone. But she says that looking to 2019, they'd like to diversify and add more professional class jobs.
One of the things that we're looking forward to in Henry County is how do our leaders collaborate? That is going to be very key as we work together, as we develop strategic, not just comprehensive land use plans or comprehensive transportation/transit plans, but we need a comprehensive economic development plan.
This need to develop strategic plans that bring all the players to the table before taking action on an issue, it seemed to be something of a theme among people we heard from at the breakfast, and you'll hear another take on it in relation to a very different issue in just a bit. But continuing with the theme of inclusivity that Chair Wood brings up, that was something that was definitely on the mind of our next guest, too.
Come on in and take a seat.
Thank you. It's like a confessional or something, right?
It does.
David Dreyer is the state representative for House District 59.
Basically, it starts kind of Manuel's Tavern at Ponce High.
While his district cuts a narrow geographic swath through eastern and southeast Atlanta, it actually spans a wide scope, economically speaking. And when I asked Representative Dreyer what his top issue is for 2019, he said it's actually kind of complicated.
There are a drastically different range of issues depending on where people are on the economic spectrum. So if people are on the lower part of the economic spectrum, it's affordable housing, good schools, just basic services, which aren't there for the most part. If you're on the upper end of the economic spectrum, it's quality of life issues. Transit and transportation would probably be number one among those.
Dreyer says he thinks we need to start with the foundational issues on that list if we'd hope to truly make a difference. And that includes what he sees as the most pressing issue.
Affordable housing. Without doubt. The problem is we're losing affordable housing every day. There's something like 500 evictions in Fulton County every month, and that doesn't count the people that have left on their own accord or lost their home through a foreclosure process. So we're losing affordable housing by the minute, and if we don't start doing something now, it's going to be way, way too late.
Dreyer believes that Georgia should add to its toolbox of strategies for addressing the issue, considering, for example, rent control measures to prevent people from being moved out of their homes as property values rise, something that he says has been going on for a long time.
When I talk to people in Lakewood Heights, they've been moved out of Peoplestown, and they were previously moved out of the old Fourth Ward. And then the old Fourth Ward people were previously moved out of where Turner Field was in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. So you're looking at people that have no control over where they live and are pushed around every 20, 25 years going back for a long, long time.
As Representative Dreyer says, more can and should be done about housing affordability in Metro Atlanta. But let me tune you in to just some of the things that are taking place now in effort to turn the situation around. For its part, ARC is partnering with organizations across sectors to develop a regional housing strategy. That's aimed at helping local governments better understand their housing challenges and addressing them. There's plenty more, too, including House ATL, the Atlanta Regional Housing Forum, the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, the Regional Housing Task Force, and the Regional Housing Advisory Council. And we'll include links to all of those efforts on our website. This is just to say that there is a lot going on, and this is a topic we hope to cover further in future seasons of the show. We haven't solved housing affordability yet in Metro Atlanta, and we're sure as heck not done with it here. But before all that, we have one more guest in this Season 1 bonus episode. For her, 2019 is a big year for focusing on some of the region's newest residents.
My name is Jordyne Krumroy, and I'm a regional manager at Welcoming America.
Welcoming America helps cities across the country, including Metro Atlanta, in creating policies that encourage a hospitable atmosphere for new immigrants. This is no small matter here. Folks who were born in other countries make up nearly 14% of people living in our region. And as a state, Georgia is ninth in the nation when it comes to immigrant population.
And yet in Metro Atlanta, we often kind of don't think about this because we're so siloed. And so when you talk about diversity, you immediately go to a specific area. You think Old Buford Highway, or you think downtown Atlanta. But really we know that regionally, Metro Atlanta has got to come together to create policies and programs that sustain immigrant inclusion.
That's the challenge Krumroy would like to see the region concentrate on for 2019, planning for our immigrant population strategically, just as you would for any other issue. See, there's that inclusive strategic planning talk again.
And we see this with housing, we see it with transportation. It's like once it's too late, we start trying to figure it out. But it's not something that you can't see ahead. I mean, the data is there.
And that should totally be the new tagline for our podcast, I think. What's Next ATL? The data is there. In this case, 8 Metro Atlanta cities came together in 2018 to look at that data and create a regional strategic plan around immigration. The plan includes 59 recommendations for issues ranging from ensuring equitable access to economic development opportunities to fostering trust between residents and law enforcement.
It's the nation's first major metro welcoming plan. So this has never been done. It's an opportunity for Atlanta and the communities around Atlanta to really do something innovative, to really recognize that our diversity is our strength, and to work forward on a plan that's inclusive of all communities and really spreads from the metro out.
Housing, transportation, jobs, and making sure there's a level playing field for all of our residents. That's a lot for one bonus episode, and those are just some of the issues our region's leaders have their eyes on as that peach gets ready for its drop to ring in 2019. And as I told you last time, we're on the lookout for great ideas for upcoming shows. Ideas about the issues facing Metro Atlanta and people doing amazing things about them. If you've got those ideas, hit us up at info@whatsnextatl.org. Until next season, see ya.